What's up, everybody? I want to let you know that I'm going to be playing at the Retinalt Winery Resort this Saturday, June 18th from 4 to 7 p.m. in Egg Harbor, New Jersey. I'm going to be playing a bunch of covers and originals and would love to have you there. Make sure you put in your reservations for tables now because they do fill up on the weekends, and there is a 2 hour time limit currently per table. So make sure you put your reservations in now to guarantee your spot. For all other info on my gig schedule and music and everything else, make sure you go to spokenlifemusic.com, or you can find me on social media at Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, TikTok, all at the handle of at Spoken Life Music. Everybody, welcome to One Set. My name is Anthony Irvin.
What's up, everybody? How we doing?
This is my co-host, Jim Green. This has been a year in the making.
It's really been 23 years in the making. Who wants to tell it? You or me? I don't know. Let's do it. How's it going, everybody? How we doing? Jim Green here, aka Green Monster, alongside with my co-host, my best friend, and my brother, Anthony Irvin, aka Magic. My dude, what is going on these days?
Man, had a cool weekend. We took the little guy to a place called Jumpers, which is like a little moon bounce thing. So it was like his first time on like a moon bounce. So the first like 5-10 minutes, he was definitely like, what's all this going on? Like he definitely didn't get the concept. And I think of all like the bouncing, he was like all out of sorts because he didn't get the balance at first. But then once he went down like one of the like little slides and stuff, then he started loving it and then just started like laughing and like blah blah blah. And then he wanted to go into like the other like moon bounces with the bigger kids. We're like, I mean, one, I have to bring you in there, and plus I'm not getting trampled by all these other little kids. So but then he started getting the balance and started actually walking across the moon bounce and stuff by himself, so it was cool. So it's another little thing to just see this kid growing up before our eyes.
Real quick. Just don't let him bounce around in the back of your dad's car, because then your dad won't be having that. Remember when you went, we were like hype in the backseat and your dad was like,
all right, cut it out.
He didn't even say anything. He just went. And then you just looked at us.
Say anything.
Never. Literally, Tomlin from the Steelers, right?
Just sniff.
And then we were just back to like.
Yeah.
That. So as long as the little tone isn't doing that in the back of your dad's car or truck, whatever.
But if anything, he would be the only person that he would allow do that.
Interesting how that works out, right?
Right. Yeah, it's funny.
Sorry to cut you off. The rest.
No. In other news, I have my gig tomorrow night, and as this episode airs, I will be playing tomorrow night at this new venue, the Retinalt Winery, and I'm going to be playing in a wine tasting room. So it's going to be something different for me. It's the first time I played a winery or wine tasting room. So I think I might have to just adjust my levels up a little bit, because I probably won't play my distortion side since it might be a little bit more laid back. But on that, I mean, I think it's going to be a cool, different dynamic for me to be playing in a space that I'm not used to. So it'll definitely show me how to, react to certain things and kind of see how, the vibe of the room is for that.
Well, and you're also in what appears, and maybe I shouldn't judge, but it appears to be like a very different demographic, almost the same thing.
And it seems to be very upscale too. Like they have like it's like a resort. So they have like a golf course, and they have weddings and, receptions and everything over there. And they supposedly have like hotels and everything connected. So it's a big resort. So it's going to be fun. Yeah. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. So like I was saying, a different dynamic slash demographic for you to be playing in, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm so excited for you. I wish I could make this one. I do have my last recital, not my last, my final recital for the season coming up this Saturday,
Hmm.
which I'm literally up north. Got to be there at like 8:30, 9 a.m. And then they do two shows on the same day. So I'm there all day, which is better than making the trip twice, especially with the gas prices being
Gas
so
prices.
high. Um, I mean, yeah, I like if I the lesser of two evils is making the trip once, doing just a whole day, so that
Yeah.
instead of making the trip twice,
Right.
for less time, it's like just get them both done in one day. So I appreciate that. Actually, um, my recitals this season have been very enjoyable. I did have to miss not the one studios, but the one studio does the same show on two separate days. And the second day, I had to teach because I have like 5 to 7 year olds at the studio that like I couldn't
Yeah.
just not be there for them. So I went the opening night last Friday, um, and it's really fun and interesting because I have talked obviously growing up to various dance instructors, even as they start at this age and then they have been open for some time,
Yeah.
some time. Um, and one of my favorite studio directors that is very local to us. Um, I was working at Wawa and he came in he was next in line. I didn't see him in some time, and I asked him how business was going, and he was like, "Our numbers are a little bit low, but the kids that we have, the spirit is very high," which is like, it's being a studio director and having worked at various studios, it's almost like it's
Yeah.
very like this. Like you
Hmm.
either have high numbers and the morale's kind of like not great, or your numbers are low and then the morale elevates. It's
It's almost like a yin and yang type of thing.
yeah. I mean, it's like, do you want high numbers and a lot of money coming in, but like the energy is not great, or do you want the energy to be good and positive, but the financials aren't there? When you
Yeah.
get to here is when you're doing it right. When you're
Right.
here is when you need to be like, hmm,
Need to fix something.
either a big change or fold and
Right.
move on, right?
Exactly.
Um, I think for my recital that I was at this past weekend, they have been in business for 70 years. So
That's
they have
insane. For
they've done.
saying it again, that's 70 years. Crazy.
I mean, kudos to them and the legacy that they're still maintaining.
Yeah.
I'm just honored to be a part of a studio that has been around that long. Not that I'm
Absolutely.
not honored to be a part of this of the other studios that I'm at, but to be a part of something that has maintained its presence for so long, it's like wow.
Absolutely.
I know I talked about that previously as well. Um, and your gig again, I hope that they love you. I am very positive that they will. I think that your music, that you know, the style that you play, I believe that they will receive you very, very well. So without assuming, because we know what that leads to,
Hmm.
in the event that you're back there again, I would love to attend the next time that you're there, because you showed me the pictures of the venue and I'm like, oh my God, this place is gorgeous. It's so
Yeah.
immaculate. Um, if I wasn't there, you know, for my recital, and it's actually my niece's birthday on the same day as the recital. So I was like,
Mm.
if it was the next day, which would be Father's Day and my mother's birthday, I wouldn't be there either.
Right.
But if it was on a day that wasn't of extreme significance on my end, I would do whatever I could to be there, because, like I said, this place looks awesome. If you
Yeah.
are around and you're not vacationing away, um, you should do your best. And the venue, it's called
The Retinol Winery Resort, and like I said, it's probably one of the more upscaled places I've been playing. I think I'm going to be pulling out the dress shirt and vest like old times when I was doing a lot of my original gigs, because they say to kind of be a little bit more casual dressed, or dressed up a little bit more sharp dressed. So I think in this type of way, it's just kind of taking away from having to just be like, okay, just throw on a regular shirt, and then throw on a pair of jeans, where now it's just I might throw on a pair of khakis and, like I said, dress shirt, and like a vest. So I think I'm more comfortable with that. And then uh so I think it's just going to be a whole new type of you know dynamic and new type of like vibe, and I'm looking forward to the challenge. And like you said, I think I think they'll like me, hoping that the song selections that I pick, and hopefully the people give me a good response. But on top of what my week is coming to, you had something also to say to our audience today, that something happened today with you, right?
yeah, I mean, this being a dance choreographer, it's like there is such a wide range of being asked to do this type of project. There's a whole wide
Uh-huh.
range, especially because dance has so many, like, I'll say concrete, and that's not even a fair word.
Yeah.
There's your classical genres, that when you look at the majority of dance studio websites that are like, we offer this, and this,
Hmm.
it's usually anywhere from 5 or 6 to 10 or 12. And if you're talking 5 or 6, you're doing your absolute classical, and if you're going up to 10 and 12, you're talking some of your modern day genres. But you can have one project that's like, I want a fusion or a blend of this and this, or
Yeah.
this and this. And it's like, okay, well, then I got to really think outside the box of, like, it depends on who the dancers or the performers are that are participating, the experience. And that really plays into when you're doing a project that someone reaches out to you and says, um, or requests, hey, can you do this? And it's something that you're not used to, right?
Hmm.
So for me, I have done anywhere from a handful to a dozen wedding projects, or um, like I've attended and taught kind of like a dance class at a couple bachelorette parties,
Hmm.
which were really fun. Uh, I mean, the wedding projects, the bachelorette parties are a lot less stressful because, like, everyone's there, and it's really mostly just to have a good time. It's not like we're here to learn how to dance, right? It's more
Yeah.
recreational. Um, so a friend of mine asked me, um, last week. I was at tech rehearsal. He texted me, "Hey, um, would you be interested in choreographing me and my bride to be's first dance at the wedding?" And I was like,
That's awesome.
"Whoa, okay, it's awesome." But you were asking me episode 23 last week, the mindset going into building a recital piece and a
Yeah.
competition piece.
Yeah.
The mindset going into building a wedding piece. And I tell everybody, the pressure's on me, because if you do this right, you only get one of these.
Exactly. Right.
So, one, right?
One.
Yeah, that. Um, so I was listening to the music late last night, early this morning, an hour and a half before I was scheduled to meet to build a piece. And all along, I was like, okay, one, I know the bride to be has dance experience of some sort, but she hasn't danced in years. The groom to be, he doesn't have dance training, but I know that he can understand rhythm, and I know that he's ambitious to
Right.
be good at the project. So I was like, okay, this can be a workable thing. The number one thing that I didn't ask ahead of time was I need to know the restrictions of the bride's dress,
Mm.
because if it's slim,
Yeah.
she doesn't have a lot of range. So the choreography needs to be more simplistic. It needs to
Hmm.
be more gesture type stuff with the arms.
Right.
Um,
Never would have thought of that. That's a good thing to ask.
it's, I mean, and then the other thing too was, do you want to do this whole song? Which the song that they want to do or have chosen, and I
Hmm.
guess it's been a selection for some time. It's 4 minutes and 35 seconds long, and then
Hmm.
when we were in the rehearsal space and I had all these questions, the groom was like, I need to use the bathroom. Went down the hallway, came back, and I was like, I should have asked about the dress while he was gone. We stepped in
Right.
the other room. She showed me a picture of the dress. She talked about, because, her being a dancer, I was like, can you do a fan kick? Can your legs elevate that high? She's like, I mean, the dress has flare, but my legs aren't going to be able to go real high. I was like,
Right.
okay. So,
At least you have your
n-
limits on that.
right. Well, because in my mind, I was like, I know that the groom could handle, he's strong, he could lift her. So I was
Yeah.
like, what kind of lifts can we do? So I was really looking to do that. But because the dress is so restricting, I was
Uh,
like, the few things I had in my head, I got to work around that.
hmm.
Long story short, by the time it just worked out that, like, I was off today, they were both off today. The studio that we were able to utilize, um, just recently had the recital, so they weren't in today. So it wasn't like we had a time constraint. So we went in, we talked about the restrictions, we talked about the music, we talked about, do you want this whole song choreographed? Like, do you want to say this is our first dance and it's all set? So the entire day that you're preparing, and you can speak to this because you and I did our dance thing at your wedding.
Yeah.
Granted, you only jumped up for like some seconds, but you were probably thinking all day, like, I'm going to go up and dance with him, like,
I
at
was
that
pretty
time.
excited. I was pretty excited, because I've always wanted us to kind of do something of that type of sort, either doing like a dance together or like I'm playing music and you're dancing with it. But it was cool to kind of just like at like the ninth hour to kind of just be like, okay, let's just do this. And
Yeah.
we took the time to practice it, and uh, you know, you were great. I fudged up a couple times, but I think we made it look good.
You, with no real dance training or experience on your wedding day, didn't fudge up at all. Like, you got up there, you think about it a lot, or do you remember that it was a fun process? It wasn't a stressful process, right?
No, no,
Right.
and like you said, I think on the aspect of like, and I think just coming from the fact that we're both very critical on ourselves, that like you look at back and you're like, oh well, crap, I kind of did this a little bit wrong, or I messed up that move. But then as a whole, people were yelling and screaming and like, because they expected you to be doing that, but when I just came out of nowhere, because even Jen, she's like, I didn't expect you to go out there. And when I just kind of zoomed out there, and then crowd just goes wild and everything, and that was a cool moment to just be like,
Yeah. The
something that people wouldn't expect me to do you know
the element of surprise is like such a win factor, which, like, when I met with the fiancés today, and I'm excited because, like, I'm invited to the wedding, so I get to see this all pan out. It's not like I'm just setting it on friends that I knew and I'm not. invited to the wedding.
Uh-huh.
Um, and the fact that they're like, we want it to appear like, we're just doing your typical slow dance thing for the first 30 to 45 seconds, but then we break out and do like a sequence
Yeah.
for 25-30 seconds, and then we just go back to regular dancing, and then the people think like, oh, that was just a little blip in the radar that they just did that little thing and they had that plan. But then the
Uh-huh.
music changes over, and then they do a whole nother sequence that we're going to do
Uh-huh.
when I meet with them next. um, Basically spent 2.5 hours with them today. We're able, like, as nervous as I was going in, we all left. And before I didn't want to say, I love this. This is amazing. I just wanted them to be able to say, I'm so excited for this. I love this.
Yeah.
They both said that, and I was like, oh, thank God. Okay. Because
Yeah.
I was like, I will never say it before the bride and groom are like enthusiastic about the project that I'm sending, because I don't want it
Right.
to be like, oh, this is going to be awesome. Like, I'm trying to hype them up and make them feel like it's going to be good. I want them to organically be like, this is better than anything we would have ever imagined, which is what they
Yeah. I
told me. And I
mean,
was like,
you can make you yourself can make up a good dance for it, but I mean, you can make up a masterpiece, but if they don't like what you're putting in, it's going to show like in the performance. So for you to be hearing them say like, "Oh, I'm very excited about this," then that makes you even be like, "Okay, they're on board. They're going to like, at least what I'm doing and they're liking the ideas." So it's coming from both parties. So it's got to be both coming from the same thing. It just can't be like, oh well, I think this might work, but then if it's not obviously what they want, or if it's something of like something of their stature they can't pull off, then but it's cool to see that like on the first like meeting with them that they're excited. And I'm excited to see the process of what you go through, and definitely got to try to get a video of that because I'll be definitely
oh,
stoked to see how that comes out.
there will definitely be footage of this one. I mean, so like, realistically, I told them like, look, you guys asked me to choreograph this, but do know I am not in charge. This is your wedding. You have the
Yeah.
final say over everything. And I
Right.
turned to the groom. I turned to the groom and I was like, I'm saying it's your day, but it's
Yeah.
her day. Actually, more than
Right.
yours. And
Yeah.
her, when he texted me, he said she really wants to do this and she wants to get started ASAP. And that came through last Tuesday. And I was like, this week with teaching and recital this weekend, the earliest I can meet is next Tuesday. And it was like,
Uh-huh.
okay. So we met today. Granted, this is being published on Friday the 17th. Um, but then we're meeting sometime next week tentatively, and
Hmm.
we're gonna finish up the product, and it will be, assuming we meet and get it done. I told them my target was to get the content set in place 3 months
Hmm.
prior to the wedding. So
Yeah.
I said, and we're on track to make that happen. And at which point it'll be like, it's going to be fine tuning little dynamics and making
Yeah.
it be like, oh, instead of just being like, because for non-dancers, I mean, it's like the coordination is like, oh, I'm going here, I'm going here, I'm going here, I'm going here. But it's like,
Uh-huh.
are you going? Are you going? And I know I talked about this, I think episode 10, the first live episode, where it's like dynamic, and I got up on my feet
Yeah.
and looked
Yeah.
stupid. But I was like, you can either go like soft, quick, quick, or you can go soft, quick, soft, or you can go
Yeah.
quick, soft, quick. Like
Right.
it all will radiate differently, step by step, move by move. Um,
Mhm, mhm.
so I just want them to become like familiar with the muscle memory of the material. Then we can talk about like the energy being conveyed step by step. And then the biggest thing in teaching non-dancers how to perform is like, you need to be so confident with the choreography that you're not looking down, you're not looking left, you're not looking right. You can make eye contact with anybody watching you and still
Know
maintain
what you're doing. Yeah.
the steps and the rhythm and the timing. if
Yeah.
if they can if they can nail all of those things, the audience is going to be like, oh my God, how long did it take for you to learn that? And they'll be like, 2 practices we had the choreography down, but then we rehearsed it like a lot. And they'll be
Yeah.
like, yeah, the dedication. So I
Right.
mean, they the bride asked me, so the previous wedding um projects that you worked on, was it always trained dancers? And I was like, I did a father of the bride and bride dance a few years back. One of my dad's coworkers reached out to me. Now, this was a few weeks before the wedding, and he just suddenly got the idea, and he was like, "Hey, do you think you could do this?" And I was like, "I can, but depending on how much time that you give me to build a piece and for you to practice it, like, it's either going to be very simplistic because we don't have a lot of time,
Yeah.
or I can make it a little bit more elaborate if you can give me more time."
Right.
Um, my first meet with anyone that I don't know where they're at is always like a free consult, just to digest so that I can plan
Yeah.
for the remainder of the project. I mean,
For sure.
and for anyone that is following along, if you ever want a wedding production, no matter how big or small built, it's the more elaborate that you want it, the further ahead it needs to be planned, because the and Anthony can speak to this, the closer that you
Mhm.
get to the wedding, the more little things that just start piling on. You're not going to
Yeah.
have time to practice a dance while you're trying to dot your i's and cross your t's on everything that needs to be done at the very end of the cycle. So the fact that
Everything
they
comes a lot more like condensed to the
stressful,
point where and
right?
stressful. The fact that you like have to, I mean, I haven't got to the point where, I'm playing weddings or anything, but that would be a nice thing to kind of like play a reception or like a cocktail hour or something. But like a lot of those guys, like you were saying, they take months to kind of figure out, okay, do you want specific songs? Like what specific songs do you want me to play? Then you got to learn those specific songs, because if it's customized to the actual event, then you got to take time to learn those songs, perfect them, and do all those things. And like you said, but if you have a shorter amount of time, then that's like more stress. Then you have to put more time and effort into learning them more quicker. Then you got to think, what you're putting in, what you're putting out. So definitely understand what you're saying. Yeah.
It goes with almost everything.
Yeah.
um I mean, we grow up learning, don't wait till the last night before the test to study and cram for the test.
Hmm.
It's not going to be in your brain. That's why they try to, um, I don't want to say convince or persuade. They try to instill in you regular studying, so that it's just constant repetition. So
Repetition.
that,
Yeah.
because that's how you take, I mean, it's what, sensory motor, short term memory, rehearsal, 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 long term memory, right?
Yeah.
So the more that you study a thing, the longer it stays there. That's why when you remember things after so many years, it's because you thought about it in your head so
So
much
many
that it just
times.
gets sorted in your LTM, right?
Hmm.
So I think, like I said, um, for anyone interested in a wedding project, don't wait till the last second and ask me, because I will give you a product, but it will not be my best work, because I can't invest too much into it, knowing that you can't invest too much into it either.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, for me, it's it's easier for me to set complex, intricate choreography, because that's like what I'm used to. The simplistic movement and keeping it lighter,
Hmm.
because and I know I've said this on here before, and I know that that's my favorite line ever. I know I've said this before. Um, it like when I generate choreography that is a little bit more simplistic, I feel lazy. I feel like
Yeah.
I'm not invested into the creation of it.
Yeah.
Um, but the thing with building the couple or handful of wedding projects that I have, um, where I'm working with maybe a bride and bridesmaids, maid of honor, where like some are trained in dance and some are not. I'm like, okay, well, I have to cater towards like the strengths of everybody and make a product that is fun. It's got to be
Right.
fun, because weddings are a
Absolutely.
celebration. If it looks like stress, the people watching on are going to be like, I feel stress. And you should never feel stress at a party, right?
Absolutely.
So, um, now that I've gone in, assessed the situation for this current project, I am so excited. I actually talked with the groom to be a couple hours after the practice, and he watched back the footage that we captured, without the music, the walkthrough, and with the music. And he's like, "You actually don't look that bad." I was like, "I'm telling you, for your first practice, you guys are doing really well. And given that you have 3 months to really like
Yeah,
drive
and it's gonna
drive this
tighten
in."
even more. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, I can't wait to see this. Um, I know I kind of went into that a little bit more in detail than I wanted to, but I don't think I've at you know 24 episodes in even talked about doing wedding projects before.
Yeah, I mean, I'm
Um,
I'm excited for you for that type of thing. I'm looking forward to seeing all that unfolds. I'm excited on your front to be keeping up to date on how that goes.
yeah, thank you. Um, how about these NBA finals?
Dude, it's been a back and forth battle, and
I
I
will
mean
tell you.
that's what you want in the finals, though. I mean you want the competition. Nobody likes a sweep in the finals, but like I was telling you last night when we were watching Game Five, whoever wins this next game is most likely, I feel, is going to win the title. Now, whether that
Yeah,
be in Game Six or Game Seven, that'll be, you know, told. And by the time this episode airs, we will already had Game Six, so we don't know the outcome of that. But if we are going to a Game Seven, that's going to be on Sunday, and that'll be Father's Day. But on my opinion, I think if depending, we now know right now at this point that the Warriors are up 3-2. Depending on how they come out in game six, if they come out swinging, they could uh, they could pull it out. But if Boston, being that they're home, if they come out, really good and they're taking care of business, then they're going to pull it to a game seven. And if game seven goes, I think the Warriors are going to pull it out in game seven. So I think I think either, I think either Warriors are going to pull it off Thursday night or Boston's going to, take one more run, but we'll get Warriors. I'm still on the Warriors winning the series.
yeah, I am too. I mean, I know previously it was like, okay, if Celtics win game 5 and they go 3-2 and then they're going back to Boston, I was like, I think the Celtics are just taking it at home game 6. Like you and I said, whoever wins game 5 is pretty much who's going to win the series.
Yeah.
Now, I will say if the Celtics win game 6, but it's like a real close game, I think the Warriors are going to win by 10 to 15 points game 7. I think if Celtics win game 6 by like 10 to 15 points, I think the Warriors will win, but just barely. Like, I think it's going to be real close
Yeah, I think these next
because
two games are
it's
definitely going to be close.
it's momentum,
Well,
right?
if
Like,
if
yeah,
two games, the definitely next game or two are going to be close, and
yeah.
I don't think we're going to have another blowout. And even the games really haven't been blowouts. I mean, they've kind of had their times where they've been close, but at the last 5 minutes or so, then one of the teams started pulling away. We haven't had a consistent game where it's been like, oh, blowout for the remainder of the game when the but it's been pretty close, and it's been kind of we've had some significant lead changes, but haven't really had like a blowout game, I think, from what I remember.
I think game 1 the Celtics won by like, I'm just going
10
to
or
pull it up here.
15.
So it was like 10 or less, but I thought that the Warriors won game 2 by 18 points. I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure.
I mean, I take a
Um,
blowout as anything
yeah,
over 20 points.
that
20
has to
25
be.
points, that's usually a blowout for me. If it's like 10 15, I don't consider that a blowout. I consider it, obviously, you definitely won the game, but I don't say, oh, they blew them out. No, I just think obviously they just won the game.
Yeah, everyone has their opinion on what a blowout is. I mean,
Hmm.
10 points. isn't a blowout. 15 is pushing it, and 20 points, like you said, I think that's about there.
Yeah.
Um, for whatever reason, hold on. I was like, it only started showing me from game two of this series, NBA Finals. Okay. Game one, Celtics 120, Warriors 108. So Celtics won by 12 in San Francisco, which is a big deal for
Yeah.
game one,
Which
especially.
everybody was like, whoa. Nobody
Yeah.
expected Celtics to pull that first win off.
Yeah. I mean,
I definitely didn't expect it.
even our one of our favorites, Bill Burr, said, I think whoever wins the first game, it will be telling for the remainder of the series. That was what he said before the series was even
Yeah.
underway. And he's not wrong. I mean, if the Warriors won game one at home, that to me would have been like, okay, this series could be done in like 5,
Yeah.
right? Right. I wouldn't say Warriors just win straight 4 in a blowout. Celtics are
Nah.
obviously a great team. I mean, the Warriors, after that loss by 12, came back and won game 2 against the Celtics in San Francisco by 19 points.
Yeah.
Almost a blowout. I mean,
Yeah.
that's pretty significant, right?
Right.
So then game 3 in Boston, Celtics beat the Warriors by 16,
Hmm.
and then um, game 4, the Warriors beat the Celtics in Boston by 10 points. Not a
Hmm.
blowout. The Celtics were ahead almost that entire game. And then
Yeah.
the Warriors came back close to the end. And
Yeah.
then game 5 uh, in San Francisco, the Warriors won by 10 points. And
Hmm.
again, that game was so back and forth. That's why I'm
Yeah.
like, if 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 yeah,
If.
yeah, if game 6 is a landslide for either team, uh I mean, if it's a landslide for the Warriors, they just win it outright. If it's a landslide for the Celtics, the Warriors are going to have it tough because the Celtics are going to be like, we're tied 3-3. We beat them at home game 1. Let's, like, at the start of the
Yeah.
series, let's beat them at home to round out the entire series. And if Boston does that, uh, I will offer them mad respect because the
Hmm.
Warriors appeared to you and I to be the stronger team going in. They've been in the championship spot. They've done this before. Um, I mean, God, I just keep watching them. When they're good, they're they're
Yeah.
beyond good. They're
Yeah.
just majestic,
Yeah.
like God mode, right?
Right.
The Celtics are only on God mode when the Warriors are down by like 5 or 10 points, and then they're just like their confidence is so far up, and then they just start having fun, and then
Yeah.
they start doing good. You know?
And going into game 5, the Celtics were still rated to be winning the series. I think it was like at a 70% percentage. So I don't know how much that percentage has either changed or gone down now that Warriors are up 3-2. But I'm
Right.
I'm not sure if Celtics are still rated to win or if it's kind of, evened out a little bit. Uh, like I said, my pick has always still been the Warriors, but you know, the Celtics have definitely shown that they can play with the Warriors. But like you said, when the Warriors are on, they're on, and when Curry is, on, that dude is a freak. He is just like everything he throws up 90% of the time that's going in.
Okay, so you remember, and obviously
Raffling.
wrestling reference. Booker T used to say, "Tell me you did not just say that."
Yeah.
Right, dude. I was laying in bed last night. I had just gotten into bed and saw the end of the third quarter for Game 5.
Hmm.
Who threw that bucket from like
Yeah,
almost half court?
I forget the guy's name, but
Are you,
yeah, I didn't expect that to go in. Like I just saw the pass, and I saw the shot. I'm like, oh, there you go.
you saw it. We hadn't like texted for maybe 5-10 minutes, and I was like, tell me you just saw that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you're like, oh, yeah, I did. And I was like, this is why I feel like this team is going to win, because they can pull out like this magic out of
Hmm.
nowhere. And for the Celtics to score and win a game, they have to try their absolute best. Whereas the Warriors are like, we can be 90% and still pull out the win. And I think that that's ultimately where we're going to land. Now, if you're tuning into this now, this week, or sometime in the future from now, episode 25, we will have the recap on the NBA Finals, and then we will put
Yes.
basketball talk to rest for several months as we gear up for some summer wrestling talk, and we're going to be heavier into the baseball season, which I know, Anthony, that's not your forte. Um,
Hmm.
but the wrestling talk, we have football talk to start within the next month as we head towards preseason.
Yeah.
So that will be
Yeah.
coming into play
Looking
soon.
forward to some Eagles football this year. I think we're gonna have a good year. I'm hoping we're gonna see a lot of new people, a lot of new faces, and like I said, I think they've had a good draft year, probably one of the best ones at least I've seen in the last couple of years. So I'm just looking forward to hoping what they do with these draft picks, because
Yeah,
they definitely need something. So we'll see what happens, and I think they don't have as much of a strenuous schedule as last year, but they have some tough games. But I don't think it's as strenuous as what it was this past season. This past season was a pretty hard schedule.
yeah. I mean, once baseball comes to the World Series and is done, I'm probably going to start paying attention to hockey and find a team that I like outside of the Flyers, because honestly,
Yeah, Flyers are
I
going to be, you know, tanking as well.
they're just, I mean, even in seasons where they're sitting like close to 500, I'm like, okay, I have maybe a 50% chance of them winning if I tune in.
Hmm.
If you're resting between 300 and 400, I'm going to watch Impractical Jokers and enjoy myself better. I'm going to
Zero
watch something
dimes.
zero dimes. I'm not going to tune in and be like, come on, come on, come on.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I will give like the Flyers an honest chance once that series rolls around, just like I,
Hmm.
I did with the Phillies, because I was like,
Yeah.
it's fair. And I'm having fun doing this. Like, I'm totally invested versus like we said on the last episode, if I miss a game and they lose, I lost out on nothing.
Right.
Um, Flyers, I'm pretty much going to approach the same. If they get on a streak where they're doing well, I'm going to tune in if I can, when I can. Now, they don't play daytime games, and their weekend games are not like they don't usually jive with my schedule. That's part of the reason why I miss a lot of their games.
Hmm.
Um, but we'll see what happens. The Phillies right now, I mean, I'm just going to quick comment since we've talked about them a lot.
Yeah.
Um, Before we recorded this episode, we were prepared to do a 5 to 10 minute like short intro on this game too versus the Marlins. We wound up recording over an hour and a half of content because the game ran so long. And if you want to see how that panned out, feel free to reach out to us before we publish it, because we have no idea when we're publishing that content. So if you're interested in hearing out on that, the Gmail is at the number one, not THENUMBER one, literally just one, SETPOD at gmail.com. Email us if you would like to receive any of that content. We are willing to share that with you exclusively. Otherwise, it will be published sometime within the next 3 months to 3 years. Um,
we
I
have a
mean,
lot of ideas like in the runnings for
works.
for the podcast, then we're excited, but we don't want to say too much right now because they're kind of in the brain works of me and Jim right now. But
That's it.
we're looking forward to some things coming to you know coming to fruition for the podcast. But yeah, if you guys want to are interested in some extra content, definitely hit us up because we got some things coming for you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, I it's it's also early in the season. The Phillies, I believe, are 60-ish games in and have about I mean, they usually have 162, 163. I know we talked about the number of games. They have
Yeah.
they have about 90 games left, which is going to run from mid-June to mid-July to mid-August, and mid-August through September. With breaks here and there, there's the All-Star break
hmm
that gets us to the very, very beginning of October. So there's about 90 to 95 games left. So the fact that they haven't played half of their games yet, there's still plenty of baseball. So
Plenty of
for as,
baseball. Plenty of
for as,
time.
for as much as I've trashed them and as much as I have praised them, I'm very right in the middle right now. And I
Yeah.
think that's where I'm going to leave it because we've
And I
talked a
think you
lot about
speak for
that.
a lot of fans that they're kind of just like, they're doing this right now.
Yeah.
Like they're with them, but then they're like, okay, we need some tweaks. But then when they're winning, we're like, okay, cool, we can get on. But then when they have like, some times where they're kind of off the grid, they're like, okay, what's going on with the team, buddy? So typical Philly fans here.
Yeah. I mean, I mean, I know I said I see the Phillies as our next champions again over anyone. I know Anth is probably going to stand firm with the Eagles. We're going
Yes.
to revisit that probably episode 1 or 2 of season 2 once we regroup into 2023 after this
hmm
upcoming uh, football season. And I'll say,
Yeah.
Anth, how do you feel about the Eagles now? Um,
Hopefully
and
we'll be saying the same thing.
Anth, I just want to say thank you so much for introducing me and welcoming me into this podcast world. I know I'm not perfect at it. I think I am adapting. I'm learning a little bit every week. And this is for
100%.
anybody that's tuning in, whether it's now, whether you've been watching along, whether you tune in the future. Um, Again, this is something very outside of my comfort zone. Is just being open to just having conversation and broadcasting it. I
Yeah.
am a very reserved person. I get that from my dad. I think me being open is something that I get from my mother, both of which I love, and it's a very yin and yang thing. So for me to feel like I can acclimate to both of those character traits makes me feel like I am a solid product of my parents, to which I'm very proud to be. Um, and we have hit on just about everything. I will say the two things. I'll do the serious one first, and then the one that I've been waiting to talk about that one for weeks. So I will hit on um, one of our favorite wrestlers uh, as we grew up, especially
Yeah.
mine. I would say because I was very interested in like acrobats, like flipping and this type
Yeah.
stuff. So when the Hardy Boys came out in WWE, I was like such a huge fan.
hmm
Um, and I watched them go through. They were tag team for a long time. They were a favorite forever. They went their own routes. They did their own things. They joined other companies. They wound up back in WWE for Mania 3033, which was like hugest pop of that entire
Insane.
WrestleMania. Insane. Um, yeah, I mean, I think Matt left the company first because they tried to bring in the broken character and then it was just kind of stale. Like
Yeah.
I think Vince intentionally tried to kill that because that was like so successful in TNA that he was just like, yeah, we'll welcome it here, but we're gonna squash it. Um, Jeff Hardy was like still doing his solo act, and he was still on TV regularly for a few years later. I think
Yeah.
Matt Hardy went to AEW, and he was probably there 2 years before. Yeah, Matt Hardy wound up in AEW through COVID era wrestling where
Yeah.
there weren't fans in the stands, right? And then Jeff started running into his issues again, and then he was released
Yeah.
from WWE. He wound up in AEW, and for me, I was like, "Good, maybe this is his reset."
I thought
Um,
it was definitely like a new beginning for him, like a fresh, yeah, like you said, fresh reset, and
yeah,
something that, he's back with his brother. I mean, not that, when you're with people that are, make you feel
positive
comfortable
influence.
and
Yeah,
positive influences, hopefully with his brother, it'll keep him off that stuff. But then with the recent, you know, reports of him with the DUI, when I saw that breaking, I'm like, oh man. I mean, I feel bad for him that he just can't kick it. I know there's so many people out there that have those addiction issues, uh, but the fact that AEW uh, also offered him the help and he is, accepting the help. Now, a lot of people are saying, oh, well, WWE did the same thing and he refused it. We probably won't know the official reason why he didn't. And now he's taking it with AEW. He probably just with WWE, he was just not happy with where he was going. So he just wanted to get out of there regardless of what they were going to offer him. But, either way, you just got to, everybody's been saying he needs help. He's getting the help. Just take it at that. And let's just hope that, the help that he gets is going to do the beneficial thing for him. And that is, you know, getting his health back on control, So we're pushing for Jeff to hopefully, recover because we know he's at the at the last end of his career, but we would hate to see him end his career on something like this.
well, and not even just end his career on where he's at and he just retires and then you never hear from him again kind of thing.
Yeah.
I would rather that than something incredibly traumatic, fatal happen. I mean, this is
Yeah.
serious stuff. I mean, he's been
Hmm.
in trouble more than a few times, and people are out here joking like, "Oh, well, the Usos are out here getting a handful of chances,
Yeah,
and
and then just getting
they're
like a slap on the wrist. Yeah.
yeah, and they're the unified tag team champions, whatever."
Right.
Um, for someone like Jeff Hardy, um, I think it's important to acknowledge as well. There's balance to everything, and clearly he's not finding the balance. Okay, and that's WWE was offering him, whatever assistance he needed, but he was
Hmm.
also on a very like regular schedule with them where he was working all of the time. So
Yes.
if I had to guess, because he had a rigorous schedule at his age, his body is so
Yeah.
beat up after
Hmm.
decades of beating his body up.
Yeah.
He was probably like just drinking senselessly whenever he could find a minute and think, "Oh yeah, I'll sober up by the time I have to, work
Hmm.
tomorrow." And he would probably show up for work and be like not good to go.
Yeah.
um, on the flip side, with AEW being on a very limited schedule, pardon me, being on a very limited schedule,
Hmm.
he was probably like, okay, well, if I only have to work 1 or 2 days a week, then the other 5 days I'm free.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to drink as much as I want, and it's not like I'm going anywhere.
Hmm.
Um, but when you're operating like that and that stuff is staying in your system continuously, I mean, he could be getting in the car feeling like he's okay, at 12:30 in the afternoon, coming off of a binger, and they're saying he blew triple the limit because he just drowned himself the night before.
Yeah.
Like that's a very likely situation where he got to AEW where they were like, "We'd love to have you. We'll pay you this much, and you only have to work this much. Do you feel okay with that?" And he was probably like, "Oh God, yeah. Like I can handle that. That's fine." He probably went from he didn't have any free time, barely at all, to he had too much free time, which is where I'm like,
Yeah.
there needs to be a balance in the middle, where
Balance between it.
it's like you need to have some sort of structure in your life, and then you need to
Mm-hmm.
be able to fit the fun recreational things in between, so that
Yeah.
you're not having too much fun and getting carried away, and you're not either working yourself to death that you're just like, I'm working so hard so I deserve to be recreational where I find the minutes to do it, versus, oh well, I only have to work hard limited, so I'll regulate being recreational, but then because you're used to gravitating towards pouring and pouring and pouring, it it gets to be way too much. I think that it's
Yeah.
it's probably a combination of that dynamic, and
Mm-hmm.
because he's been dealing with this for so long, there's probably a part of him that just feels like he's never going to kick it, and I am just concerned. I'm
Yeah.
worried for him.
Sam. Yeah.
You know?
Well, we hope the best for him. That's all we can do.
Yeah.
Just hope he gets the help that he needs and that he takes it serious. And you know, just like I said, hope for the best, and just hope we don't have to hear another tragic thing coming from the wrestling world eventually down the lane.
Well, it's going to happen, but I mean, for him, it's like the rumor was he's facing potentially up to 5 years in jail, and for me, it's like, I mean, you got to keep him off the road too, because he's
Yeah.
risking other people, right? Um, not
Unless
to
this is like the ultimatum of like, okay, it's either 5, 6 years in jail or you go to a rehab and get out sooner, unless they're, trying to do something with that. But yeah, we,
Yeah,
we
I
don't know.
mean, we can touch base on that on the next episode if we have any more updates on that.
Hmm.
I would like to try to end the episode on a little bit more of a positive note.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, I don't think I wanted to touch on, hey, news on Jeff Hardy. We wish him the best, but like you and I have talked about that even just through text, like various times, and just were like, hopefully this is the last one.
Mm.
You know, um, the one thing, there's a couple things real quick. When's the last time you had coffee?
Today.
You're also a dad. That's a stupid question.
Yeah, yeah.
I will say, um, like we get the Starbucks cold coffee at the
Hmm.
market because it's like $5-6 for like a container that will last you several servings,
Hmm.
versus paying the same thing for one cup at the
For
drive-through.
one. Hmm.
So we're like, yeah, we're not doing that anymore. Um, I had rehearsal this past weekend, and I woke up, I felt sluggish. I was like, I have to go do pre-planning for rehearsal, teach the rehearsal, another pre-planning session, and then another rehearsal. And I was just like, my creative juices just weren't there. I didn't feel
Mm.
energy. I was like, I'm gonna get a hot coffee on the way in. And I hadn't had a hot coffee in almost maybe 2-3 months, since whenever it was cold last, outside. And I got like the jitters. I was like, holy smokes, I'm ready to
Mm.
go. I was like Chris Farley and Tommy Boy, like, oh my God.
Oh my
Like,
god.
yeah. I mean, it, but I was so productive after like halfway through the coffee, to the point where I knew I was like on a tear and I was ready to go.
Hmm.
That I just downed the coffee. My partner on the first project saw it happening, to the point where I was just like producing content, producing content, producing content.
Hmm.
And 20 minutes later, she was like, I've just been standing here the whole time, letting you just go, and we're good. Great job." And I was just like, "I'm so sorry that like I just was like, let's do this maybe, yeah. Let's do this maybe, yeah." And I'm looking over, and she's just like. Then I felt bad, like, oh, we didn't like collaborate or
Right.
come to terms on everything jointly.
Hmm.
And then after the I mean, I taught the content during the rehearsal, and I asked her afterwards. I was like, "I'm sorry." Oh, I said, "I apologize again." And she was like, "Thank you so much. I appreciate that." And I was like, "Okay, cool." Next project that we had, um, me and a different partner. It's a very different project, so we have a different approach and mindset on it, and the dynamic and tone of it is very two ends of the spectrum.
Yeah.
So at least the coffee got me moving. Um, I had coffee before my wedding rehearsal earlier today, and without that, I don't think I would have moved and been so progressive about it. Um, so just snaps for coffee in general and caffeine. If you ever want to feel what it's like to have caffeine for the first time again, try to not drink it for a couple weeks and then drink it once and be like, whoa, right?
Now, see, I'll try to do that, but I think caffeine for me has like my caffeine tolerance is probably through the roof now, and I got to give that up to C4 from the pre-workout because I used to take like hotcakes, work out a lot more, and I have no caffeine. I can have like maybe a full, Dunkin' Donuts, you know, big cup, and I don't get any jitters. I don't get any like energy boost from it. Uh, and
It's
so I've never really had much of a caffeine tolerance.
it's so funny you say that. Like I talk about anytime coffee comes up and I talk about this with anyone, I say I didn't start drinking coffee until I worked at Wawa because I was doing it 5 or 6 a.m. and I'm not a morning person, just like you're not.
Yeah,
We're both night owls. As it's
right.
almost 1:30 in the morning right now on a
Almost 1:30
Wednesday
in the morning.
morning. Yeah.
Hey yo.
So hey yo. I mean the wedding project that I'm working on, the groom who I met through Wawa was like, since I worked at Wawa for so many years, I can drink like a dark roast coffee, even if it has um oh my god, I can't think of the word, like an extra like espresso or caffeine boost like behind it. He's like, I can fall asleep right after. It doesn't do anything for me anymore. Like the tolerance is just so through the roof. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, Aside from coffee, real quick, and I'm going to talk about this at the start of the next episode too, more at length. I'm just going to say Top Gun. Okay.
Yeah. You'll have to let us know about all that.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just going to drop it right there because I would rather go into depth on it at the start of the next episode, and I'll make a note of that. But I never seen the original. Something that I'm going to talk about inspired me to watch the original, and then I was like, I want to watch the new movie like immediately. Went and saw it within the next couple of days, and it was it just exceeded my expectations beyond belief.
Awesome.
Um, I'll talk about that a little bit more at length in the next episode. Anthony, anything else that you want to um, top the episode off with before we sign off here?
Uh, one, uh, you know, if anybody's in the area this weekend, down the shore, Jersey Shore, Atlantic City area, Egg Harbor, feel free to come out and see me at the Renault Winery Resort. Like I was saying, I play from 4 to 7. So would love to see you guys there. And if you are coming, make sure you make a reservation. The reservations are recommended during the weekend because of high volume. So make sure you put that in. And two, since we are coming into the weekend, just want to say happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there. So happy Father's Day, Big Jim. and all the fathers that are out there. So hope everybody has a good weekend. And with that, is there anything else you want to plug for us, buddy?
Yeah, real quick. Just to piggyback off what you just said, and thank you for the reminder. Just it's fun because we record these uh, earlier on in the week, and I'm like, oh, this gets
Yeah.
published Friday, so I got to think
Hmm.
about the weekend upcoming because we always talk about the weekend that just passed. Um, you wished my father, Big Jim, a happy Father's Day, Mr. Irvin. Happy Father's Day to you. Um, and also a shout out and a very, very happy birthday to my mother, Connie, on
Connie,
this coming Sunday. Also, all of the love
happy
to our
birthday.
parents. As always, shout out to Bern. I know because we're shouting out the dads and my mom. Um,
Yes.
Always a shout out to Bern. Love you too. One of my niece's birthday is this Saturday. She is turning 9. I can't believe it already. My other one niece had just turned 16, and my other niece is she's turning 11 at the end of the summer and going to 6th grade. I'm like, I can't believe that
Nuts.
we're in our mid-30s right now. This is just wild. Um,
Yeah.
for our One Set fans that have tuned in for this episode 24, recorded starting on Tuesday, June 14th.
Tuesday.
We are now at just past 1:30 a.m. on Wednesday, June 15th. If you are listening to us, or if you want to catch us or any of our previous episodes or upcoming, you can find our video recordings on YouTube or on Spotify. You can also catch our audio only on Spotify, also on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, and Google Podcasts. You can also catch us on our social media pages, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at one SETPOD. That is at One Set Pod. And of course, you can always email us any questions or any content that you would like us to discuss throughout the upcoming episodes at onesetpod@gmail.com. Anthony, anything else? Did I miss anything? How'd I do? All right.
Awesome, brother. This has
Bro.
been another set of one set.
An- Another episode of One Set is in the books. Episode 24 coming to you. Once
Yeah,
we get
man.
through episode 26, we will be halfway through our halfway through our
Halfway.
first season, and we are just getting started. My brother
100%.
and best friend Anthony, cheers. Love you, brother.
Cheers. Love you.
Thanks, everybody. Take care.
Hey, you guys have a good one.